Let's bring him on if we can. Sheldon Bennett. He is the CEO of DMG Blockchain, trades on the OTCQB market. There's the ticker on the screen, DMGGF. Sheldon, good afternoon. How are we doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
I cannot believe it is September already.
Neither can I.
No,
and I'm so happy to be back. I was in your conference a few months ago. I'm glad that you've got a great crypto conference going on right now.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be glad when this is in person again. So these virtual events are fun, but nothing replaces in-person conferences for me. Anyway, enough about that. I see your slides here, guys. Let's get them on the screen. I will step out, and Sheldon Bennett, DMG Blockchain. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, thank you again. Yeah, great to be back again to talk about DMG. We achieved a lot in the last quarter. Our quarterly statements just came out. So for those of you who haven't heard of us before, please take a look at us on the TSX Venture Exchange as DMGI or on the US OTC at DMGGF. And there could be some people from Frankfurt. So we're over in Germany as well as 6AX. So let me just get right into it. We have 20-30 minutes. There's a lot to go through. For those that have seen me present before, this is the new deck. Our marketing department's been working with me. So hopefully I get it right. So I've gone through it a couple of times, but we changed the structure a little bit to better communicate some of the things that we've achieved and to better show potential investors and our existing investors and shareholders how we see the market and where we fit in. Well, as a public company, we have a disclaimer, so please make yourself aware of our disclaimer and our forward-looking statements. So just a quick overview. As I said already, DMG, we're a public company, traded on various exchanges. We have about 106 million shares outstanding. We trade about 1.5 million, some to 2.5 million shares a day. We have a 30-day average trading volume, 1.5 million. We sit on net cash about 47 million, net assets around 20 million. We're headquartered in Vancouver, British Columbia, not Washington, some people have thought in the past. We have about 25 employees. We have a U.S. subsidiary called Blockseer, which you'll hear a lot about in this presentation. And our main data center is in British Columbia in a place called Christina Lake, just close to Spokane on the U.S. border. So recent achievements from DMG. So we started the company, myself and a few founders, back in 2016. We went public in 2018. We went public about a month before crypto winter started. So we've had quite an interesting ride. But recently, we're one of the first signatories in the Crypto Climate Accord with Argo, our partners. You'll hear more about Argo in our presentation as well. We purchased 7,850 Bitcoin miners in the last 2 quarters. We've had the first almost 3,000 now hit Vancouver. Some of them are already delivered and up and running. We're expecting to have around 300 petahash or 3,000 miners up and running in the next few days. We invested in BlockBox. It's a manufacturing company in Vancouver to help us build infrastructure quicker and be able to expand faster. We've invested $3 million Brain Capital for crypto custody solutions for our wallets and Blockseer. As well, we put $2 million into a U.S. company called Bosonic, which is a trading company, a trading technology company, to help us accelerate the speed to market for our layer 2 crypto exchange. And we put $1 million into another crypto exchange. Unfortunately, I can't disclose it yet, as the terms of our agreement do not allow us to do that quite yet, but hopefully soon I can. And our Blockseer pool technology, which is licensed out, has hit over 2 exahash. So that's great news for us and our technology team. Moving on, the way that we describe DMG and the way that we sort of build our company is sort of 2 parts. So we have, one, our core business is crypto, Bitcoin primarily, but we have 2 divisions. One, what we should call core, which our core business is mining Bitcoin or creating Bitcoins and putting them on our balance sheet or selling them. And what we call Core Plus is everything on top of mining a Bitcoin. And that's our software, data analytics, and forensics. So we do a lot of software work, and we're really excited about a lot of our software that's coming to fruition now. So when you look at the Bitcoin ecosystem, I like to break it into these 2 parts. So I just talked about Core and Core Plus. So if you look at Core, that's Bitcoin creation. That's our data center, and that's does the compute power where we get rewarded in newly minted Bitcoins, and that's how we make money as a Bitcoin mining company. And our Core Plus is how we monetize Bitcoin. So this is mining pools we get services fees from. These are wallets you get service fees from. So these are exchanges where you get transactional fees. These are data analytics where we get fees for consulting and helping and following Bitcoin, working with lawyers, working with law firms. They pay us money for doing this. So this is how we monetize Bitcoin once it's created. So our understanding of the ecosystem, I broke into this little pyramid. And so when you take a look at what we call core and core plus, our core business is based on reliable power infrastructure, which is our Christina Lake data center. It's hardware supply, ensuring that we get all the parts we need. Part of that is the Bitcoin miners. They're made in China. That's one piece of that. But the other parts of that are around other things like getting transformers, getting a lot of different parts that you need besides just the server. And then the last piece on core is the design and optimization. And so there's a lot around the software that automates and makes sure everything works. But on the design, there's also improvements. So we are improving our data center by moving from air cooling to immersion cooling. And there's great improvements in that, great boost in our ROI. So I'll talk about that in another slide as well. And then again, once we've made that Bitcoin and it pops out, you're into our Blocksphere platforms. This is where we monetize. This is where we try and get ongoing transaction fees daily from Bitcoins that are created. And then at the very top of our pyramid, we have sort of the higher end, more expensive solutions where we're selling brain power. So we're selling analytics, and we're selling forensics, we're selling data science, we're selling investigation. And so this is how we see ourselves and how DMG sort of fits in the ecosystem of crypto. Now, I made this little picture, and I went through this with our marketing team for a little while trying to talk about this. So if you take the same thing of core and core plus, we kind of flipped it around. We put the core on the top, and we said, you know, in 1 year, how many Bitcoins are created? Well, there's about 330,000 Bitcoins newly minted and created in a year right now at the going rate of 6.25 Bitcoins per block. And there's some transactions in there, fees. So if you just take $50,000 per Bitcoin, it's about $16 billion of crypto is created in a year. And again, these are just rough numbers to give you an idea of what that looks like. So when you look at our core business, it's sort of tangible market, or it's the market that we can make money off of. It's $16 billion, give or take a little bit. So our peers in there are ourselves and as a public company, but there's other public companies, Hive, Hut 8, Bitfarms, Riot, Marathon. So I put a couple of names of other core Bitcoin mining companies that are our peers. And we all work in the $16 billion business. So we're all trying to get our piece of this through a crypto mining. But if you dig below that and you look at what's past crypto mining, where do the coins go? So then you get into exchanges, you get into lending, you get into analytics, you get into custody, you get into all sorts of other services around these coins. Well, that's a much bigger business. And this is where DMG is really striving to go to with our software. So we learned as much as we can about how Bitcoin works from being a Bitcoin miner. We are now applying that and becoming a software firm in crypto. And that's why we kind of created this idea of showing you like core can only go so far. The bigger business we see in the future is the centralized finance, is getting into where all the big players are moving crypto around and making transaction fees. And so when we talk about how it's vertically integrated and how the structure and foundation of our core business works, we put a slide together of just the main things that we're doing. So one, on asset infrastructure, our facility is 60 megawatts. It runs about 20,000 miners, which is about 2 exahash. So that's our core facility. That's what it can run. We're not running that yet. We're on our way there. We're buying the miners and installing them, but we're going towards a goal of 2 exahash in our main facility. We're looking at a few new data centers right now. Some not so big, but really advantageous on price and terms. Some really big that could make a great impact on DMG and its shareholders that we're really trying to conclude some agreements. We're trying to manufacture and create as much of our equipment as we can, as quickly as we can. Supply chain is a real problem right now. So we've done our deal with Blackbox to try and expedite our manufacturing of infrastructure. And then we're moving forward with our immersion cooling. I know people that have watched me before, I've said that we're moving forward. And I've also said our supply chain's been tougher on this, but we have some movement on that. And, our goal is to convert over our Christina Lake data center to full immersion. We won't get it done by the end of this year, but we'll get some of it done this year, and we'll continue on and do this next year as well. And then, of course, we do have a lot of consulting and engineering engagements, more than we can handle. We're not, primarily in the business of helping build other data centers, but we do it where there's an advantage for us, usually through getting agreements that we can host or use that facility as well. So if you just, for those that move quick, because I know I don't have a lot of time, but this is what our Christine Lake data center looks like. It's, as I said, 60 megawatts is built out in secondary voltage, can do 20,000 miners. It's got, we own the substation on the property. It's ours. It's not somebody else's. It's a 30,000 square foot building and so on. We're very, as I said, very close to the US border, which is great for our supply chain. Black box, as I mentioned, helps us in our manufacturing. We can quickly design and build things in Vancouver. We recently just finished another 100 power channels, which helps us add more miners to our facility in Christina Lake. And then just on the immersion, we've done some studies on this, and those have seen me talk before. We've talked about how this ROI can be increased by 25% on your equipment, and that this fluid replacing the fans will help us in consuming about 18% less power from the studies we've done. So when you do the math on that, that turns out to be quite a savings in CapEx and in power for converting from air cooled, which is very inefficient, to immersion cooling. Now, the really exciting stuff that we're moving into when we talk about this sort of glacier, where we had the crypto mining at the top, the core business, and at the bottom, we had this big chunk of centralized finance. And this is our Blockseer platform, which we call Core Plus. So Blockseer have our Core Plus, our Blockseer platforms, broken into two parts: safety and security, and regulatory and compliance. So we were trying to think about how do we talk about all the different platforms we have. And you can see a lot of platforms there on the right. So we have Explorer, Freeze, Breeze, Wallet Score, Mine Manager, Mining Pools, and Petra. So in safety and security, Explorer, Freeze, Breeze, these are things that are really, law enforcement uses. Freeze and Breeze are wallets. People would use those. Explorer is a way to explore Bitcoin transactions. Regulatory and compliance, Wallet Score is a real-time AML product. Mine Manager is a compliance SOC 2 piece of software that manages and runs mines so that that is correct and you can rely on it. Then we have the mining pools and the Petra as a way that we work with pools and transactions. And I'll just take you through a few of these and try and move quickly through them, as I'm hoping we have a few questions at the end here. On Blockseer, just a screenshot here, we have our first client, which is Terrapool. They're a great company. A lot of people know Marathon, one of the biggest mining companies in North America. So we worked with them to white label this and get this up and running for them. We're really excited at the growth that Marathon's having. And we're really excited that they chose us for the technology to run Terrapool. We have a second pool called Terrapool coming out. We partnered up with Argo. Argo is a UK listed company, very much interested in sustainability and renewable energy. So we've created this new pool with them. And that pool is also part of the Crypto Climate Accord. And as I mentioned earlier, both Argo and DMG have signed that accord. With Mine Manager, this is really about automating and tracking the performance of a data center. So if you're in the crypto business, there are companies that take licenses on this from us to help them better manage their operations and understand and fix problems. Wallet Score, as I said, is a real-time AML product where it looks at the risks around transactions with different wallets based on their past history and us being able to identify nefarious characters or problems with transactions in the past. We have a whole group within the company that focuses on this type of business. Explorer is our very first product when we bought Blockseer, when we went public. And it basically is a way of exploring the blockchain and looking at wallet addresses and the associated amount of crypto in each wallet. And then you can sort of track it back and forth and move around that whole ecosystem and see the transactions, the dates, the times, the amounts, and where everything goes. So a lot of this is really interesting to law enforcement and different law firms and accounting firms. And then the last piece on our Core Plus is our data analytics and forensics. So a lot of people don't realize this, but we do on average 1 to 2 projects a month over the year where we're working for accounting firms or law firms, law enforcement, whoever it may be, asking us for advice, evaluation. We do some technical due diligence. We do some crypto mining audits where we're asked to help out in some, technical situations. So it's a nice piece of our business. It really keeps us on the edge of the technology, and we have sort of business to business following of companies team that use it over and over. Getting a bit more into the Blockseer's team, just so people are aware, the team has a Bitcoin core team, which really works on the pool and the Bitcoin mining side of the business. You can see it sort of focuses Explorer, Petra, and Wallet Score. Those are the projects that it's really working on right now. And then we have our other Block CAR team with the 6 other engineers, and they're working on the mine manager, the mining pools, the breeze, and the freeze. So we have a strong team that's been growing. We're hoping to keep this existing team to double from sort of what we were at 6, 9, 10. It'd be nice if we can get this up to 20 over the next few quarters. There's tons of other projects besides these that we would like to get launched and going. So we've got a lot to do here. But, we've been making great progress on every part of our software development. Especially just on our core business, which is our Bitcoin mining side. There's 6 people involved in our Bitcoin mining in a full-time. We have part-time people as well, but on a full-time basis. And as you can see, they really are focused in on the power and the network security side of ensuring everything works properly. As you can see in the slide, I also said that the Christine Lake data center has a capacity of about 2 exahash or 20,000 miners that are the S19 style. And this is just a calculation based on the power and the power consumption by the S19. So in the future, if there's a new model in S29 and it does double the hash rate, so it's 100 terahash now and it goes to 200, then it would be something like 4 exahash. So this is just the way the technology works. Just a little bit on our commitments and ESG and compliance. DMG's Christina Lake facility is 100% hydroelectric, so it's 100% renewable power. We are signatories to Terrapool, and we're working on a pool that is based on renewable energy. That's the foundation of people using that pool and mining on it. And as well, we are, as I said before, signatories to the Crypto Climate Accord with Argo as the first 2. And we really drove that concept of being a signatory instead of just a participant of the Crypto Climate Accord. On the social, early on, we started on COVID work protocols. We regularly have health and safety. But things that are really interesting is our partnerships with universities. So we work closely with cybercrime at SFU. We worked with the Sauder School of Business at UBC for many years doing MP cases. We hire actively out of local universities and colleges. A lot of our programmers and on our operational people, even of our marketing people who worked on these slides came out of UBC's program. So we're quite happy that we engage with the universities and colleges to find great new talent and train them up and become the new programmers, the new managers in the crypto world. There's not a lot of people, a lot of past history and experience in the crypto world.
Hey, Sheldon, I kind of want to jump in so we could have a little bit of time for Q&A. I think we're down to like the last 4 or 5 minutes.
Sure. This is actually my last slide. So just on the governance, we're standard governance, anti-money laundering, independent board. This was just another sort of our core and core plus in our partnerships. But that's it. I mean, this is it. I mean, my last slide, and I'll take some questions. Is about, why should investors be looking at DMG and what makes us interesting? And one is our exposure, as I've shown, the sort of glacier to Bitcoin mining and Bitcoin software and software services, and that we have a strong balance sheet, over $40 million in cash, and we trade around 2 million shares daily.
Okay. So in terms of, and thank you very, very much for the presentation, just to give some respect and access to the questions that did pop up in the feed. By immersion cooling, you mean you're immersing the motherboards in mineral oil and then pumping through a heat exchanger? That's what you're referring to? Someone asked for that
mineral oil. It's the fluid's not a mineral oil. It's a type of fluid. We purchased this fluid from a major manufacturer that creates this fluid, and there's different data centers use different types. But it's a type of fluid that is engineered specifically to remove heat from servers without doing damage to the components. So the capacitors and the cables and the plastics and the different components in there. But the concept of, yes, you basically take the fans off that are used for air cooling, You put them into a fluid, you pump cold fluid from the bottom through to the top of the server boards. That heat goes to the top, the fluid sits skimmed off, it goes into a cooler of some type, and then it gets pushed back in as cool fluid.
So obviously, it's been a hard year for mining in terms of public opinion. The whole idea of carbon impact, being kind of held forth as the banner. Yeah, you had both regulators and to some degree, sort of mainstream public sentiment and the news cycle working somewhat against it. Has that represented an opportunity for your company since you are focused specifically on more environmentally friendly mining solutions, or has that been has it been a challenging year? Since obviously there was a lot of heat, not questionable whether all of it was warranted, but there was a lot of heat about the carbon impact.
It wasn't so bad for DMG. So we had a lot of investors and a lot of media questions coming to us about the carbon in, Bitcoin mining and the Bitcoin industry. We are lucky that we're in Canada, in a part of Canada in British Columbia that is 99% hydroelectric. I think there's very little carbon intense legacy infrastructure around. So we're happy to say that we're 100% renewable.
Yep.
And that helps. But there's another part to that renewable that's really important. And I've said this before. One is having energy that's sort of carbon neutral or doesn't have this sort of impact, and that's a lot of what investors are looking at. And there's particular investors that are really looking at sustainability and what is your carbon footprint.